Hi, everyone. Welcome to Agency Rainmaker TV, the TV show where we teach agency owners and strategic consultants how to make it rain. And we've got a rainmaker extraordinaire with us today, Scot Ginsburg. Scott, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I appreciate it.
Well, let's jump right in to who do you serve? Tell me your target niche.
Yeah, it's a very specific niche within the commercial real estate space, and I've been doing this 25 years, if you can believe it. But quite simply, Hughes Marino, which is the company that I work for, exclusively represents commercial real estate tenants who lease space or what we call owner occupiers. So if a company doesn't want to lease space and pay rent, they'll buy the building and occupy it and operate out of it. And we do this across a wide range of industries. We specialize in serving high technology companies, life science slash biotech companies, business services, research and development, manufacturing, and other growth-oriented sectors. And our clients, they range all over the place. They range from small startups all the way to global national footprints, if you will, with multiple offices. And the unique thing is by solely focusing on tenant representation, as it's coined in the industry, we've eliminated ourselves from the traditional conflicts of interest that most commercial real estate firms are plagued with. In other words, most firms, they represent both sides, the landlords and the tenants. And namely, they represent landlords, so they can't really push on behalf of their tenant clients as hard as they would normally do so. And by being a specific advocate exclusively for the tenant, this candidly ensures our customers get the best possible outcome in their real estate transactions.
So this is very high-end negotiations that you do and when you represent people. So what are the services you do for the tenants that you represent?
Yeah, candidly, that's a good way to put it. It's big stakes poker, and I'll get into that in a second. But just a level set. So the commercial real estate industry was kind of based upon the residential industry, but the commercial real estate brokerage industry was formed, if you could believe it, over 100 years ago. But it was namely built to serve landlords where they were basically brokers or outsourced marketing arms for these landlords, these owners, to fill their vacancies. And that kind of left the tenant, in an inferior position or the underdog. And if anybody knows anything about commercial real estate, the tenant brings all the value. They're the one paying for the rent. Commercial real estate is valued on what is called the income approach. We come in and we level the playing field and we help our customers navigate the complexities of the commercial real estate transactions, which is why I say it all in the title of my book. It's not all about the rent. And for those who think, oh, it's just about the rent, they're going to find themselves with a massive economic impediment at some point in the lease term if a strong process is not followed. For example, yesterday, I was meeting with a biotechnology company. They said, we got a great deal, but our operating expenses doubled. They went from 90,000 to 190,000 a month, another 1.2 million a year. Why? They didn't negotiate the operating expense provision in the lease property properly. And some common projects that we work day in and day out on behalf of our customers include lease acquisition, so securing a new site, expansions, relocations, lease renewals, early lease restructures, kind of like a refinancing of your home, if you will, when the rates drop, lease workouts, which are prevalent in the life science industry because the funding has dropped off for these types of companies in the sector. A lot of them aren't going to make, the balance of their lease payments, relocations, and building purchases. But I would say roughly 65% of our work is around helping customers renew their lease. And 70% of the time, an existing tenant within a particular location, they're going to renew the lease at least once, okay? And landlords know this. And it is quite often the fact that they overpay on a renewal compared to a new tenant coming in. So we level the playing field through a proven strategy whereby as a repeat customer, if you think about it, you should have bulk buying power. You should be paying a discount for a repeat customer. But unfortunately, that is really not the case in most situations. The landlords see them as captive.
Well, let's get into how you make it rain, because if I'm an agency owner or management consultant, I'm wondering, oh, okay, what can I learn from this for getting clients for me? So what's been your formula? You've been doing it for 25 years. You've been doing it well.
Yeah.
What are you doing to make it rain?
Well, so our customer base really revolves around management teams. So, for example, it could be mostly the CFO, the chief financial officer, the VP of finance, the CEO, the owner, somebody in the C-suite, the ones that are responsible for leading the ship, doing mergers and acquisitions for the company, taking it public, hiring, etc. So those are our customer bases, the ones that would hire outside attorneys, CPAs, etc. And those are the people that are our prospects, our friends, our clients, our customers. And because to your point in the very beginning, it is high stakes poker. If it's a company that's going to go lease space, it costs them $1,000 a month, the risk factor is not there. But most of these transactions, their lease values go into the tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars of rent that they will sign up for in the foreseeable future. And so with this, it's critical. And we bring in business through a combination of strong networking, like most, leveraging industry relationships, and simply providing exceptional service that leads to repeat business and referrals. And we do use kind of a unique approach with platforms such as LinkedIn to connect with potential clients and also showcase our experience. But we also focus super heavily on thought leadership by contributing to industry publications and speaking engagements. So, for example, my partner, David Marino, who I've worked with for 15 years, he's a guest columnist on a monthly basis with Forbes. And what's going on in the commercial industry, which mainstream media is not talking about right now, corporate America on the real estate front, it's in trouble. It's quite catastrophic at the moment. Myself, I actually put on a continuing education course through a partnership with Deloitte. So those were kind of two examples of thought leadership to the CFO, the CEO, the leaders or the stewards, if you will, of businesses. And by addressing the unique needs of the tenants or the customers that we serve, we're able to basically build a great reputation that attracts new business. And by simply delivering better results than our competitors, which is what we like to pride ourselves in, candidly, we were able to maintain a consistent flow of new business and new opportunities.
Well, I'm prejudiced here because I wrote the book Marketing with a Book, and I helped you edit your book. Tell us about your book and how you've been leveraging that to get more clients.
Yeah, so it's funny that you mentioned that. I've always wanted to write a book, and through our mutual friend, you were nice enough to prompt me. But after a year and a half of hard work, the way that I've been using the book, so for example, in the speaking engagement with Deloitte, I'll hand them out. I've got it for sale on Amazon, and I'll send it out to existing customers, to prospective customers. I keep it in my car all the time. I keep it in my briefcase, my backpack. So, and you taught me this, Henry, is, I kind of use it as my business card, if you will. It's kind of really written as a 101 guide as it relates to very simple nuances that can save a massive amount of pain and, economic frustration, if you will, that reaps benefits. So it's not really geared towards around it, time sensitive. It's going to be a proven process for years. I actually sent to a prospective customer several years ago. They have a long shelf life. And just a quick story, really quick.
Yeah.
The company leased a building in Ontario, California, manufacturing company, medical device. They put in millions of dollars into the facility. All right. They can't move. Their lease came up for renewal. The landlord wanted to charge them 2 times the rent so they're basically charging them on the improvements that the tenant already installed on its own dime. All right. So when I sent the book, the prospective customer writes me back. He says, Scott, I wish somebody would have read your book before I signed the lease because they should have renegotiated their renewal option properly. So just kind of one example of how it's reaping benefits.
Well, and Scott, I think you're being modest when you said it's 101. Um, I think I think you can't spell the word authority without the word author. And doing the hard work of being an author, and you explained your passion is motorsports and car racing. Mine's baseball. So I'll say inside baseball. You give a lot of the nuances and what's going on back and forth, and it's not like being a Soviet Russian negotiator banging on the table with a shoe. There's a lot of gentle psychology that goes on in all this. Wouldn't you agree?
100%. Leverage in negotiations, whether it's perceived or real, has an economic impact in the outcome of a deal. Bottom line.
Well, I'll tell you, my mom was a waitress who didn't finish high school, and everything I know about negotiating, she taught me. She goes, one, first get them to like you, Henry, and then two, tell them what your problem is, and then three, let them solve your problem, and four, shut up, and say thank you.
So, hey, so
So that's not quite a book. Yours is more nuanced than that, but
So I have a funny saying. You sparked a moment. You
yeah,
said, "Get the other party to like you." Okay, so for example, I've heard this numerous times, where you're meeting with a prospective customer, and this doesn't happen all the time. Maybe 30%. They say, "We've got a great relationship with our landlord," and I say, "Sure you do. You pay rent. Don't pay your rent for a couple months and see how the relationship goes." Right. So it is really psychology behind it. A lot of it is.
yeah. Well, and the whole thing about um, you're not gonna you get more with honey than vinegar. Well, I guess that's called catching flies. Not that you want to catch flies, but the more thing is you still want to maintain rapport and all these things, and even you going in ruining rapport between tenant and landlord is not going to be a good strategy in the long term. So I really recommend the
Absolutely.
book, not because I published it, I did. I recommend the book because no matter what field you're in, and even if you're just negotiating that $1,000 a month lease like I do, it really helps with understanding the ins and outs. But if you need to get a bio med facility with wet labs and all that, bring in somebody like Scott. Bring in the cavalry on this. Scott, was there anything else you wanted to share before we part?
I wanted to first say thanks for having me on this show. I appreciate it and the relationship that we have. And then second, I appreciate the plug in terms of reaching out. And third is that after you and I collaborated, the title of the book, I've given this a lot of thought. The title says it all. Just like the meeting yesterday, we've got a great deal. All right. But the lease document is 100-page long. So that is why I wrote the book in the numerous chapters, noting the most obvious points and pitfalls that just kind of bite you or get you through the mid-lease term. You might get a great rent, but then you're just going to get, hammered through the mid-lease term. So it's the subtleties and the nuances are just hyper important in commercial real estate leasing if you're a tenant going to sign up for these documents.
Probably many other agreements too. It's all about the terms, baby.
The
Okay,
fine
thank
print.
you, Scott, so much for being my guest today. Great insights. Appreciate it. That's all the time we have for this week. So until next time, make it rain.